For us kids growing up in the Irish Hills, it was magical for us to visit these places and take ourselves back in time. Whether it's back to 65 million years ago with the dinosaurs, or back to the 1800s in the Old West with Stagecoach Stop. It was a nice, fun local place for us to forget about our daily lives just for a few hours and gave us something to hang on to and to enjoy. For those of us, we grew up in a time where we were grateful for what we had. Cedar Point may have been the wow factor. Disney World might have been the wow factor. But there was something about the Irish Hills attractions that we still appreciated because it was local and we got to see our friends there. Kids are missing out. The Irish Hills was named in the 1840s when a number of immigrants from Ireland came to Michigan to flee the potato famine that was going on at the time. They settled in the area and they had remarked to themselves how the rolling hills, the greenery, and the lakes remind them of home. I was born and raised in Lenawee County, so the Irish Hills was always the destination place to go for fun. When we were growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, so Cedar Point was like an extravagance, and so was Disney, so was Michigan Adventure, Six Flags. So the Irish Hills was the perfect place for us to go as a family to visit the many roadside attractions that were there. Back in the 1970s, there were probably at least a dozen active roadside attractions that we could choose from to go and have fun. It was probably the late 1800s, early 1900s that some hotels started cropping up around some of the major lakes, drawing people in. A lot of these people came from Detroit, Toledo, Ann Arbor, Chicago. So for them to come out to the Irish Hills area was an escape from city life, and it was a way to relax, rejuvenate, and recharge. And with that came the improvement of US 12 in 1923, 1924. They graded it to make it more accessible. They paved it in 1925, and that's about when you really saw the roadside attractions start to pop up. Michigan Observation Company was looking for hills that they could put platforms for people to climb and take in the scenery for 10 cents. And then they turned to the Irish Hills and found a orchard hill. And the orchard hill was solidly divided in half. One was owned by the Kelly family, the other half was owned by the Brighton family. They approached Ed Kelly, and he flatly told them no. So they went next door to the Brightons and asked the Brightons if they would sell their half of the hill, and he said yes. So construction started July of 1924. That incensed Ed Kelly next door. His idea of getting revenge was to build a similar tower right on the property line next door. So when the Irish Hills Observation Tower opened in October 1924, he was already building his, and there was a little bit of rivalry. He built his a little bit higher than the Michigan Observation Company. Michigan Observation Company came in and built theirs so it would be equal height. Ed Kelly put a little bit more on his. Michigan Observation did the same, and then they said, we're a big company. If you don't knock it off, we're going to tear this one down and build a tower you can't possibly compete with. Mr. Kelly backed down, and from then on, they just competed for tourism dollars.
We do it because of the history of it. People don't like to pay money to walk upstairs, but you gotta have a way to pay the electric bill. People would think at the time we were charging 50 cents and 25 cents or something crazy to climb up. I think we went as far as $1, and people would complain about paying $1 to walk up the stairs. I'm like, hey, somebody's gotta get the light bill paid. You gotta pay the person to sit here to make sure everybody's going up and coming down. The year 2000 was the last year that it was actually open for the public to go climb. And my husband and I got married here on this site. It was the last time that the waterfall ran. I don't know why the historical stuff isn't really a huge priority. It's a shame too, because you don't want to lose all of your history. Our ultimate goal would be to put a museum in the bottom where we could put all of the things that we've gathered, not just for the towers themselves, but the actual Irish Hills area.
US 12 is like the second most famous road in the United States. First one was that first military war during the Revolution. After the War of 1812, when we inherited all this, the government road needed to be built from Detroit to Fort Dearborn. And we were the shortest route. So that became for transportation and settlement. But for when people, Ford and all the car industries, and a working wage was made for people, within a good drive, if you notice the amount of lakes and recreational things for people to do. And then all the tourist stuff I feel was developed for that day it rains and you can't go out to the lakes. This is the inside of one of the buildings at Stagecoach Stop.
Our beginning brochures that we made. So I'm just sending that with you. And I found this, and I just thought this was really interesting because it shows the pictures. I know you see it of the towers when they took them off, the tops off and put new ones on.
You really know which one.
See that line right there?
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah, told you. My sister's the artist. I just went to be there with her.
Yeah.
And everybody painted on it. And the gentleman drew all of it. And then everybody came and painted their part on it.
Oh, that's so
But
cool.
anyway, yep, that's my line right there.
That's amazing.
It was.
Stagecoach Stop, that was a very popular Western-themed attraction, opened in 1965 along US 12. The couple, Fred and Dorothy Bailew, had several sons, and so they pressed their sons into service to be cowboys, to participate in the Western theme and the shootouts and the fights and everything that entertained the guests. And August 3rd, 1980, specifically was a day that I went with my family to Stagecoach Stop. And my family had entered my name into the hat for which kid was going to be selected as sheriff of the day. After we'd gone through the park and had seen all the sights and then witnessed the cowboy fights, we went back to the main area and they gathered everybody around to draw the name for the person who was going to be the honorary sheriff of the day. And much to my mortification as a 7-year-old, a very shy 7-year-old, they drew my name. The guy playing Marshall Tumbleweed Canyon posed with me, looking very serious. I didn't know what to do, so I just kind of stood there with the gun going, what do I do? I have that Polaroid to this day. It's a little faded by time because it's over 40 years old. But there's one thing that I do have from that day that's very special to me that I did keep away from the elements, and it is my official poster telling me about my adventures of being the honorary sheriff of Stagecoach Stop on August 3rd, 1980, signed by Fred Bailew, who owned the complex, and also signed by Marshall T.W. Canyon. So I found out years later that the marshal who played that part was actually a friend of mine, and I had no idea that he was the the young man who portrayed the marshal and who posed the picture for me. So hopefully when the pandemic lifts, we'll be able to reunite for a picture some 40 years later.
Rick. It's been a while. How do you wanna? However it works. However it works. How you doing? Good to see you. Me too.
Well, you know, the Irish Hills is an enigma because it grew up during the advent of the automobile in the 20s, when this was a dirt road out here. You know, this road's been here since it was a stagecoach trail, and even before that, it was being used by the indigenous people to get from the west side of the state to the east side of the state and back. Yeah, I think Tom was a marshal and drove the train more than being a. I doubt that he fell out of any water towers. Rick Shore, I think we met.
Rick Shore, we have, yeah.
How you doing, man?
Good. How you doing?
Stagecoach stop had something that was really real, you know? I mean, it was things that would entertain. And we worked hard to keep it fresh and to make it entertaining for people. You know, I always told the kids that were working, I said, look, if you're bored, so are they. Find that enthusiasm and let's put on a good show.
Family was what this place was. It was about bringing the families in, a whole family, and give them the whole day. And that's what, to me, Stagecoach needs to be again.
If you're coming here for the tourist attractions, maybe that's a bygone time. But the beauty of the area is still here, the beauty of the people.
And I can't remember how many times we came here. I mean, obviously, I have evidence showing that I was here that specific day in 1980. But I mean, we came here at least once or twice a summer, and just the memories just pile on. Obviously, you know, being named Marshal of the Day was like the highlight of those visits. I've got the pictures. I've got the posters. I've got, you know, I've got an 8x10 glossy photo that they handed out to everybody at, you know, Stagecoach stop. Those are treasures. You know, 41 years later after I got those, I mean, they're still very much beloved parts of my memories.
Everything's in a state of evolution, right? Everything's moving, everything's constantly in change. And so to have been here during that heyday and seen it, I feel honored as a person that I was part of that.
I had a lot of difficult moments in childhood, and this was one of my escapes. Mm-hmm. But I'm also a little sad for the people who are really working hard to bring this back to where it is, and I know that it takes a lot of money, takes a lot of dedication, and it also takes a lot of convincing people that they need to come back here and to reminisce and to remember.